Doctor knows how to do the
Sounds good. That sounds
work with
good. Thanks, Weston.
Good
community
morning.
college and all of that.
Good
Welcome,
morning.
So I think
welcome.
that would
As you're entering into this virtual learning space, we're so excited to have you
School
here. We
council,
just ask that
CDCs,
you
and
mute your
SBCs.
mics and let us know where you're from. Let us know who you are, what region, what is your role, school counselor, CDC, special pops, or just another
I see what you're
role.
saying. There you
Welcome.
go.
Happy New Year to everyone. As you're entering into the learning space, we welcome you. Ask that you mute your mics. Excited for you to join our January Lunch and Learn series. Let us know who you are, what school, what region, what district, your role, what brings you here. Excited to have you this morning. We want to welcome you to our school counselor CDC, school counselor lunch and learn for CDCs and school counselors and special population coordinators. This is our January 20th series, and we're so excited to have you here. We have been full speed ahead with our lunch and learn series, and this is our fourth one for the 25-26 school year. We are excited about this topic. I personally am excited about this topic, and the two presenters, they are phenomenal. Today's presentation is about the Leaky pipeline in partnership with MyFutureNC, focusing on graduation, credentials, and attainment. Before we get started, we just want to center our learning this year and moving forward for 25-2030. We have a strategic plan that has been approved, and the grounding for that is achieving educational excellence here in the state of North Carolina. We have a phenomenal goal that by 2030, North Carolina will have the best public school system in the nation. Let me say that again. By 2030, our goal is to make North Carolina the best public school system in the nation. And the way that we are doing that is centered around 8 pillars based on educational excellence. So I want to take a moment for you to review these pillars, which are prepare students for the next phase in life, revere public school educators, which are you, enhance parent, caregiver, and community support, ensure health and safe and secure learning environments, optimize organizational operational excellence, lead transformative change, celebrate the excellence in public education, and lastly, galvanizing champions to fully invest in the work that we're doing. If you want to learn more about our strategic plan, there's a QR code that I'll pause for a second that you can scan and take you straight to our page here at Department of Public Instruction so that you can learn more in depth about our strategic plan and what our work has been grounded in as we move forward. Again, a QR code just in case you are interested more in about what the strategic plan is, something that I highly recommend that you take time to maneuver through to learn how your work connects to the work of the state at large. Few housekeeping rules. This is a live session, so again, as you come in, we ask that you mute your mics in this virtual learning space. We want you to below and use that chat up. We have someone who will be monitoring the chat, my colleague, Amy, and all sessions are being recorded. So you will receive, after you do the evaluation, you will receive a CEU, and also you will be able to receive the recording for school counselors and CDCs. And at this time, I'm going to pause. I forgot to introduce who I am. I am Keisha Bryant, the school counseling consultant here at DPI. I'm going to let my colleague, Amy, introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Keisha. I'm Amy Policastro Schrader, your career development and work-based learning consultant. And Keisha and I are thrilled that you're here, and more, even thrilled more to have our guests. And I'm going to mute myself and pass it back to you, Keisha. Thank you.
And without further ado, we are going to turn it over to our presenters for today and let them take us forward. Thank you all.
There we go.
Oh my.
All right. Thank you, Keisha, for that introduction. I am Kim Case, Northwest Regional Impact Manager for MyFutureNC, and I'm here with my colleague, Tony Blunt. We each serve in prosperity zones in our state to talk about MyFutureNC's work to reach our 2 million by 2030 goal. And I'm excited to share with you. So I will move ahead. Thank you all, Amy and Keisha, for advancing those slides, and I'm ready for the next one. All right. So MyFutureNC, many of you may be familiar with our work already. We were formed as a statewide nonprofit out of Session Law 2019-55, which was bipartisan legislation, had bipartisan support to ensure that North Carolina remains economically competitive. And we'll do that through educational attainment. And our goal specifically is that we will have 2 million 25 to 44-year-olds who have completed a high-quality credential or post-secondary degree. And the piece that you don't see on the slide is that focuses on family-sustaining wages. And so we are concerned about wages and family and community outputs. Thank you. All right, our leadership is formed around this idea of cross-sector collaboration. We have a board of directors you'll see down the right side of your screen that represents sectors from policymakers, government, education sectors. We have philanthropists, business leaders. We also have an advisory board of commissioners that represents 62 individuals and 35 counties. So we want to make sure that we have a good cross-sector representation from our leadership. Thank you, Keisha. Right. Now, everything begins with a belief, and our belief statement is that everyone deserves an opportunity, and that when we have a better educated North Carolina, that is the key to economic prosperity and upward mobility for all our citizens. So we want to keep that at the center, that this is about every individual and every person. To achieve our goal, we work in 3 ways, 3 strategies. We accelerate action, we monitor and report progress, and we identify and advocate for policy solutions. And we'll tell you more about each of those as we move through the presentation. Currently, we are doing well. We have 1.6+ million North Carolinians in our target age group, 25 to 44, who now hold that college degree and non-degree credential. My background is in public education. I was in school systems for 34 years. And so looking at that 25 to 44 degree or age range, I know that in K-12 that we really have an opportunity to impact the future, but also the present with our families. Since I started in this role, we've seen increases in that number, and we will report new numbers on February the 12th. All right. Currently, thank you. We have 215,000 more individuals now than we did when we began this journey back in 2019, as I mentioned, and we've seen the gap closing every year. So I'm excited about the February 12th announcements. All right. This is an interactive map. There's QR code here. Won't pause very long at this juncture to talk about the map, but you can see across the state the gains that each county has made. 79 out of our 100 counties have increased attainment. We really like to dig into the data and get local about what's happening in those counties that's helping with that growth, and then how do we accelerate that action. All right, and I'm going to turn it to Tony, and she's going to begin with why this work and how do you fit into it.
Thank you, Kim, and hello, everyone. Tony Blunt from the southeastern part of our state. I am a regional impact manager, and like Kim, come from public education and community college faculty. And so my personal why is also highly related to understanding the why of why we do this work, why this is important for North Carolina, and really why we're all here today. So let's go to the next slide and chat about a couple of the most recent reasons of the why. So as Dr. Bryant mentioned just a little bit earlier, the portrait of a graduate, the importance of business, industry, and government, we need to focus on the learner in as a part of this conversation and looking at how we prepare that learner for whatever it is their next step is once they graduate. And so the Portrait of a Graduate several years ago took a look at all of the important graduation needs in terms of what a student is doing after graduation. And so you see those words, and you've done this work for several years now: adaptability, communications, empathy, critical thinking, etc. When you also pair that with business, industry, government, and what a student declares to do once they graduate, whether that be enlist, enroll, employ, it's a combination of all these conversations. And the why then is highly related to most recent, the achieving educational excellence. So on the next slide, we can pull out several pillars that link all of this together. Pillar 1 in particular speaks to this why, preparing, that word preparing each student for whatever it is that they want to do when they graduate. So their next phase in life. And sometimes we say college and career readiness. Sometimes it's career and college readiness. Sometimes it's enroll, enlist, employ, but all of those words mean the same thing. It is preparing the student for whatever it is that they plan to do next. I'd also pull out pillar 3, and the words community support is so important here. On the slide before, you saw the importance of business, industry, and government. I think about that as I think about community, not just government, but also nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and the theory of pulling all of these together. And then I think about pillar 6, and the importance of the why as we look at transformational change, not just for that student, but for their family for generations. And then pillar 8, the word champion is a part of our vocabulary every day, because every community, every classroom, every school system is filled with champions that help lead and guide this work. Next slide, please. A couple of other reasons to take us back to the why. The most recent Governor Stein's workforce credential workforce has identified multiple goals and multiple strategies in order to guide this work. So we're looking at these 4 key elements: preparing, and we put in bold here for you, in preparing more North Carolinians for good jobs by increasing attainment of industry valued credentials and degrees, creating more pathways to good jobs by work-based learning and training opportunities, focusing on the key workforce sectors and maximizing the existing and emerging opportunities. And then number 4, to amplify the impact of workforce programs for all North Carolinians. And this is important through coordination and comprehensive public outreach campaign. The Leaky pipeline was where a lot of this work started. Back when the MyFutureNC regional impact managers were placed in communities to really help drive this work, we were looking at the Leaky pipeline report for a lot of our why. And each year we've been able to identify new data sets. And as you can see on the right side of your slide, we've tracked this since 2020 through this year, which in February we will announce this new data. So that's why you see to be determined. But if we took 100 ninth grade students in and lined them up across the gym floor, 14 of those will not graduate high school within 4 years. Out of the 86 remaining, 36 will not enroll in post-secondary institutions, that's 2 or 4 year degrees, within 12 months. From the 50, 9 will not persist into the second year of those programs. Out of the 41 remaining, 11 will not earn a degree or credential within 6 years. So that leaves 30 out of 100 of those ninth graders left in the space that are earning degrees and credentials within 6 years upon graduation. And you can see that has not fluctuated much since 2020. Between 30 and 31 is where we are. And Kim and I do not have access to the data, so we can't even give you a hint yet as to what that looks like in February. But our hope is that the more we in community understand the why of this work, and we're using the data that is coming up next in Kim's part, that we will then begin to use collaboration to change these numbers for that important pillar of transformational change. Not only are we measuring that data, the leaky pipeline data and the educational credential data, we are also paying attention to the attainment gap in terms of demographics. So this is a chart that shows educational attainment by race and ethnicity in North Carolina. And these are folks in that working age range of 25 to 44. We're also able to measure, and thanks to the data on NCDPI, what the demographics are within each school district. But when you take a look at this data, the green at the top of every column is the percent of that particular age group that is measuring an attainment of a credential or degree. And so the far left, the Asian non-Hispanic demographic is showing a 75% attainment rate of short-term workforce credential, 2 or 4 year degree. And then the second column is the white demographic. The third column is the multiracial non-Hispanic at 49%. The fourth column, the Black non-Hispanic demographic at 39%. The fifth column, the American Indian non-Hispanic at 34%. And then the far column to the right is the Hispanic population at 25%. What we are seeing in almost a reverse of this data is that the growing population in North Carolina is in the Hispanic demographic. And so if the majority of our population is increasing in the same area where attainment is the lowest, perhaps we sense then the urgency of studying this data and reviewing the importance of our why.
All right.
And so with that, Kim, take it away.
Yes. Thank you, Tony. So I want to share one of the strategies, the ways we work, does center around understanding the data. Each year, because we were formed out of legislation, we report to our legislature with a report, and that report is our county attainment profile. That profile looks at this pathway all the way from the early beginnings of an individual's life through adulthood and what it looks like whenever they enter the labor market. Now, remember, our focus is on that 25 to 44-year-old group because that's the age when most folks have families, have entered adulthood, are ready for those career moments. But we also know that what comes before and then even what comes after matter for our workforce and for healthy lives. So we look across 4 transition points. Yes, Amy, thank you. There will be some time for questioning, and we will pause for some discussion among the group midway. So those 4 transition points: academic readiness. The key performance indicators there include pre-K enrollment. It includes reading and math readiness. Originally, we looked at NAEP scores. Now, we still do consider all of those measures, and we're thinking about what else do we need to look at in those measures. The next area, we move on to college and career access. So how do we get there? FAFSA completion, high school graduation rates, those are some of the measures in that bucket. Then we move to post-secondary completion. So once you arrive at a post-secondary pathway, how successful are you? Do you enroll? Do you persist? What do we need to put in place to support adult learners for post-secondary completion? And then finally, there's workforce alignment. And what does that look like with the jobs that we actually offer? If we want jobs in our counties, and a student wants that career pathway, but that job isn't available. How do we make that alignment happen? What can we do to influence those pieces? And that's where conversations with economic development comes in very often, with our businesses and our industries. Of course, we know that your work in the K-12 sector has set the stage for all of these data points to grow and increase, whether you touch them directly or whether you build a foundation. So thank you for that work and for your service. And we'll look on the next slide at the attainment profile. And here's a picture of our current My Future attainment profile. This is the North Carolina profile. We have these for counties. We also have supplements for school districts. We have them for Council of Governments and Workforce Development Boards. Some of you work and sit on those Workforce Development Boards. But this is the full profile. We'll have new ones released again February 12th. And the view of this profile may change somewhat, but it does have some key parts that we follow. We work with Carolina Demography to create these profiles. And one of the things that I've appreciated the most since being in this role is that if locally you have a question about a data point, you have data that you think is missing, we may not be able to add it to the profile, but we can add it to the discussion. So those local conversations are so critical. So as you study these and learn more about them, getting with your regional impact managers, talking about the data and what else is happening is very valuable to us. One other piece, and it's lined in blue on this, there are opportunities for growth that when we combine the data, our demographers combine the data and look at the places where we might be able to advance fastest. It shows up on those blue lines. All right, so we'll look a little bit deeper at just a couple pieces and then we'll pause for a moment. This top piece of the profile gives you a snapshot of demographics. Most of this data comes from the census. You can see the goal. You can see the number of residents in population, and is our population growing in our state? It is growing, 3.8%. That's not true for every county. That's another reason why we look county by county. Our trend toward educational attainment is moving slightly upward, which is always a good sign. You can see from the educational level breakdown, once again, blue is our color. So those bars in blue are the ones that we're hoping to attain and increase. Less than high school graduation, GED, some college, no credential. Those educational attainment levels you'll see later don't lead to jobs of the future. There are some jobs in that range always, but not those that lead to family sustaining wages for the most part. Across the white bar, you can see the breakdown of ethnicity across race and ethnicity across the state. You can also see median household income, which in our state is $70,838. That too is different county by county. So looking at that with the county is important. Broadband, home ownership, child poverty rates, and foreign-born citizens are also shown on the North Carolina profile. All right, so I think on our next slide, we're going to pause a moment and give you time to look at the county attainment data for yourselves. If you want to scan that QR code, you should be able to access an interactive map. If someone will let me know that you've been able to do that. And then just take a moment to, and I'm going to actually put myself on mute if you want to put anything in the chat about how you might use the data you've seen so far, anything that surprises you, and then we'll come back off. We'll give us a couple minutes and then we'll come off mute. All right, I see a thumbs up. Thank you, Jason. So I am muting myself now.
Kim, I also put the URL in the chat. It takes them to the same place, should take them to the same place where they see the interactive map.
Perfect, Tony. Thank you. And Tony, I think you'll lead us into labor market, but I'll pop back on in just a minute.
Okay. I think as folks are finding the state level data, you will also find on that same map an opportunities to select the county in which you work or live. And you might want to reflect on what you're seeing in the next couple of slides from not only the state perspective, but also from the county perspective. So if you can find that county profile, that will be helpful too.
Yep, and I also just popped in the chat. Someone had asked about a list of the credentials that are recognized. nccareers.org is going to be your primary site to look at those degrees. We do have a workforce credentialing group at the state level who's constantly looking to update those. So lots of good conversation around credentials. All right, I'll come off mute, and if any of you would like to come off mute and share an insight or put it in the chat, you're welcome to do that.
So I see where our county has dropped 1.5%. It says growth rate. So is that the number of credentials? Our credentials have dropped, or is that a total of all the information?
I believe you're looking at, tell me your county so I can look at that with you.
Richmond County, the population spotlight. Looks like our population has decreased.
That is actually your population of 25 to 44-year-olds who have decreased. So you're losing that age group, which in our local conversations becomes one of the things that our economic developers, our businesses look at pretty quickly is where is that age group moving? Of course, we know that lines of workers don't sit in county. So it could be the population has moved out of the county, but they may be driving back in to work. So we also need to look at commuting patterns for work. But yes,
we have a lot that go to Moore County to work in Moore County.
Mm-hmm.
Another question. So if my high school senior graduates and earns a credential, that's not picked up until they turn 25, or?
Right. In our data. Now we do have access to those other pieces of data, but what we report out on is 25 to 44-year-old.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. All right, please feel free to add more questions as Tony goes through this next set of data. I'm sure that as she looks deeper, you're going to want to know other things. So just put that in the chat and we'll address it at the end. So Tony, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. What a great question. And I think that if you think about the Leaky pipeline and what we're measuring 6 years out from graduation, it takes us from the high school senior data to the 25 to 44-year-old data. So thank you for that question. The labor market alignment, there we have the screenshot again of the Leaky pipeline. We want to remember through each of these data points, how learners progress through the different systems of education to ultimately a job. And North Carolina would not be ranked #1 for business if it weren't for the fact that there are businesses thriving and wanting to come to North Carolina. And it is part of our role in community is to provide the learner with what they need in order to join this workforce. So let's move right into the data. The front page of the data profile that you found through the QR code has the general demographic data at the top. And then the main section at the bottom of this profile is what you see in the screenshot here. And on the left-hand side, you'll see it identified as labor market alignment. I'm pointing out here with the blue arrow, the top opportunity for growth. Again, this is North Carolina data, is family sustaining wage. So meaning North Carolina, the need to increase the number of adults 25 to 44 earning a family sustaining wage is the biggest labor market alignment opportunity. and it exists on 63 of each county attainment profile. So it is a big need in a lot of our counties. You'll also see top 5-star jobs. You'll see the top 3 employers, not only, so you're seeing the North Carolina data now, but every county will have their top 3 employers. You'll see the residents enrolled in the North Carolina Community College System data. You'll see your workforce board names. You'll also see the top 3 industries in North Carolina. The blue data points are a focus here. You can see the family sustaining wage data, and then you can see a data point on the North Carolina profile. This is called opportunity youth. So 10.3% of youth ages 16 to 24. So we're going back closer to the students that you're directly in contact with every day. In North Carolina are opportunity youth, meaning they're not in school and they're not working. And so that is a high priority for many of our programs. The NC Works Career Centers administer opportunity youth funds, meaning they run programming. They run programming for communities to use community organizations, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, school districts to help identify those opportunity youth and get them enrolled in programs that will lead to a labor market alignment for them. And so let's move on to the next slide. And go back to the thought where we mentioned earlier about the why and the portrait of a graduate. So thinking about where the learner ends with their K-12 education, going into a 2 or 4 year short-term program or a longer degree program, the durable skills are critically important. As you see here that we've starred foundational skills. They're applicable in any profession, industry, or role. They're long-lasting. They're transferable across jobs and industry, and they're crucial for navigating professional challenges, such as working with others and succeeding in a changing workforce. All the reason behind the legislative work in the career development planning, helping students not only navigate what they want to do, what they desire to do, and where the jobs are post-high school graduation, but also being prepared for whatever that is, and helping document that growth and learning with the career development plans. The next set of data on the profile is on the second page or the back page if you have a printed document, and it is post-secondary completion. It is at the top. If you'll go to the next slide, here's a screenshot of what it looks like. Post-secondary completion data is degree credentials earned. It's looking at the adult learners, which are those age 25 or older that are enrolled in community colleges. And I'll pause there to have you look at this breakdown for the adult learners in North Carolina. So in the community college system, students can enroll in a basic skill program. They can enroll in continuing education, which generally is the short-term, sooner into the workforce type of educational programs, or the curriculum programs where they are earning diplomas or degrees. And clearly the majority of adult learners entering into the community college system are doing so in continuing education or short-term credentialing. And then you see this data point of 11.7% of residents in that age group have some college but no degree, meaning for whatever reason, at some point in their academic career, they entered into an academic program. And then for whatever reason, again, they took an off-ramp to that program. So we do realize that learners of all ages have medical emergencies, have to take care of loved ones, have financial constraints, move, they're transient in their housing situation. So whatever the reason is, North Carolina is doing a lot of work with community colleges on reconnecting these adult learners back into programs to finish what they start and then hopefully land them in a family sustaining wage job. You can also see this data, I think is critically important for K-12. The bottom right, the top destinations of all college goers, this data will tell you which institutions of higher learning the folks from your community, or in this case, the state, are going. And I always thought this data is fabulous to compare to who are you inviting into the space when you're having your career fairs or your college fairs in your school districts. And are you making sure that those top 3 destinations are not only there present, but also that you're highly connected to the folks there in admissions and financial aid so that you can be that conduit between the students and those institutions. I did want to point out a program in North Carolina now that is fully running, and it is called Boost. Boost is not in every community college. It is a partnership with a funder who is called Arnold Ventures, and they are working with the North Carolina Community College leadership and the community colleges that you see on the slide. And so if these are the community colleges in your region, you will want to make sure that you are learning as much about Boost as you can, because what this is intensive wraparound advising and academic support for students who qualify into the Boost program. And so I just wanted to place this on this slide just to make sure that folks knew that this was called Boost, that it is happening, and it is in the first cohort this year, and that students are benefiting from this greatly, from this this advanced technical and academic support. We're going to move into college and career access data. So that is the middle of the profile on the second page. And this is the data that I feel like you are probably as closely related to on a daily basis as you can get from our data points. So let's take a look at a few of the data points here under college and career access. The top data point in bold at the top shows the FAFSA completion rate. So in last year's graduating class, 55% of the seniors in North Carolina completed a FAFSA. We are showing data on the North Carolina FAFSA tracker now that is trending to increase with this graduation class. Over the past several years, you all may have experienced or heard in your communities and networks that the FAFSA went through a major change. The form was changed, the way the user interacted with the form, the way the parent or the contributor interacted with the form has all been updated. And so now we are hoping to see that trend line increase, especially now that short-term workforce courses at community colleges, if they are in alignment with the labor market need, could allow a student to use those financial aid funds towards those programs. We believe that we will see an increase, and we're so thankful to our partners at CFNC, College for North Carolina, and the State Education Assistance Authority that have created the North Carolina FAFSA tracker. So not only can you monitor your district's FAFSA completion, you can monitor it by school, and you can monitor it in comparison to the state. On this slide, you'll also see the post-high school graduation intention data. So this is directly from DPI data. This is when your seniors tell someone in the building, whether they be one of you or a school counselor or a data manager, what they hope to do after graduation. I think it's important here to look at what the students are telling us. So if almost 75% of our graduates from last year indicated they wanted to enroll in a program after high school, yet only 55% completed the FAFSA, there is a strong percentage of students that could possibly qualify for financial aid and make those courses or degrees more affordable, yet they did not complete the documentation, which opens the door to that financial assistance. I think that's something really to focus on with your local data. And seeing if there is more opportunity to help students that are just not completing that document. And then it gives us here the percentage of graduates who have enrolled in post-secondary within 12 months. So
Say it again. There's not another group till 1. This might be a good time slot for Miss Elliott to take the rest of the week. That
Hello.
way there's nobody coming in to
I'm
check
getting a
in.
little bit of feedback noise here. There we go. Yes. So just looking at this data, the top opportunity for growth here for North Carolina is increasing FAFSA completion. Next, please.
Tony, there's
Yes.
a comment in the chat just about fifth-year seniors and how those might count against FAFSA. Do you want to speak to that just briefly or come back to that later?
Yeah, that was a very tricky situation back in 2020 when this FAFSA tracker was first created. And since then, there have been a couple of things that have changed to help navigate that early college 12th and 13th graduation year. And so you will have better local data with your one-on-one conversations with early college students in terms of being able to identify which ones are actually going to graduate this year and which ones are completing the FAFSA. And because of that, the Pro Tools on CFNC and the fact that you've got to finish the FAFSA report will get your data really narrowed down more specifically. But on the FAFSA tracker, you can also, there is a tab across the top that helps you with the early college data in relation to the entire school district data. So thank you for bringing that up, because there was a time that we could not pull out which seniors from early college were actually graduating in any particular year. But I do think that there's been improvement in the tracker on that data point. On this particular slide, we are just highlighting here the opportunities that learners have in terms of post-secondary and for job seekers. So we have in North Carolina 58 community colleges serving 100 counties. So even though your county may not have a community college, there is a community college directly in service to all of your learners. The workforce boards are also positioned across the state. There are 20 in every region. Some workforce boards may cover 3, 4, 5, up to 9. Some may even just cover 1 county. But whatever that may be for you, your local workforce board generally manages the job seekers and the business service representatives in your county, and should be a key partner in all discussions in terms of college and career readiness. We also have 36 private institutions in North Carolina, 5 of which are historically Black colleges and universities, and 16 public institutions, including, again, 5 HBCUs. And we also have the North Carolina Promise universities in North Carolina that are still, after many years, offering reduced tuition. And those are Western Carolina, UNC Pembroke, Fayetteville State, and Elizabeth City State. Before turning this back over to Kim, I've mentioned the partner, the College for North Carolina partnership. They are directly responsible for the North Carolina FAFSA tracker. In the next couple of weeks, the regional trainings are occurring across the state. It is in reflection of Financial Aid February. So practitioners out there in school districts and college advising folks, career advisors are all invited to their regional training to get hot off the press newest resources in financial aid and college access. I've mentioned Pro Tools in a previous slide, but do remember that this is student level data. So when you are trying to identify how to help a student on any of these important transactional records, you have access to that data unless the student's parent has opted out. The Next NC Scholarship will be highly covered at these regional trainings, but let me just mention that that is the North Carolina's financial aid tool that is when the student completes the FAFSA and they send that form to the 2- and 4-year colleges that they're seeking admission to, their financial aid letter, then could possibly have funds from the next NC scholarship. If they're applying to private colleges in North Carolina, that is called the North Carolina Need-Based Scholarship. Also, the FAFSA must be completed for that. North Carolina forgivable loans are incredibly important to our students going into those high employment need areas. And many colleges in North Carolina and many counties qualify for the North Carolina forgivable loan. Very early, very easy to search that on the CFNC website. And then I'll just mention that the financial aid collaboratives happening across our state are working with nonprofit groups that already work with students or faith-based or workforce boards, colleges, financial aid offices, and school districts to help provide opportunities to get these transactional steps done. All right, Kim, back to you.
Thank you. And I'll go quickly through these last few slides. So we have a minute or two for questions. But the last component, the last bucket on our county profiles is academic readiness. And those are the earliest, and we can go ahead to that next slide. Those are the earliest indicators that lead to this education to career pipeline. We start with NC pre-K enrollment. We look at readiness scores in reading and math. Chronic absenteeism really relates with our employers when we look at labor market participation rates, because often, although not always, but students who are chronically absent from school many times have parents who have other obligations and have absences from work. And so that one relates in that cross-sector conversation. We look at some other data there, student to school counselor ratios, and our dropout rates are also included in this section. For CTE, we look at those pathways to college and career, the credentialing. We talked about industry valued credentials, and I popped in NC careers in the chat, so I would encourage you to take a look at that. We also look at CCP or dual enrollment courses. So all of those hit the academic readiness bucket. And I know that you will understand how important you are in building that foundation for our 25 to 44-year-olds and for our future. We're really not stopping this goal in 2030. Credentialing categories. When we're measuring credentials, we're looking at the two middle sections, essential and career. We do believe foundational credentials matter, and if we don't have those, it's hard to build. But the credentials that lead to family sustaining wages sit in those two middle categories. I'll let you look more at those projected occupation education rates on your own, and I'll move on to what really someone says is maybe our secret sauce for accelerating action, and that's on our next slide. And it is that we are learner-centric, but around those learners, we have support from workforce, family, community, educators, and then funders, folks who want to invest in students and invest in this future workforce. So thinking about those cross-sector partnerships, and if my challenge to you all would be, think about how you are getting outside of the walls of the school. CTE does a nice job at that often. I know how hard it is sometimes to get outside the walls, but we need those community connections desperately to reach every student. So thank you for doing that. For us at a state level, we really foster regional and state level partnerships. You'll see some of the icons of our partners on the screen. NCBCE may or may not be familiar to you. That's the North Carolina Business Committee for Education, who is working out of the governor's office to think about business partnerships. The Chamber and the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina also give us information about labor markets. How do we reach forward? How do we move forward? Apprenticeship NC, of course, you saw the governor's workforce council or council on workforce and apprenticeships. And how can we earn and learn? How can we help students earn and learn? How do we get creative and innovative in the way we go about that? And if we need to think about policy changes, what are those policy changes and how do we help move that needle? So all of those things lead to educational attainment increasing for our state. Now, the next slide will show you NC careers. And just a snapshot of that page, that is a session all on its own. It is improving every day. The last session that I sat in to hear about it can put county salary beside county salary for the same position. And you can talk to a student about if you want to move across the state and this is a job you want, here's what that salary may look like across the state. So a great tool for cross sectors, high school, K-12 sector, but also for our workforce boards and folks who are working with adult job seekers as well. And it's fun. I've done a few of those reality checks and interest finders just to see if I was on the right path. I am. Just take a look at that and use that tool. It is free, so that's helpful. Then finally, we focus also on lifting best practices. Right now, we're really focused on the healthcare pipeline. Those 4 bullets show you how we're thinking about that through work-based learning, some regional collaboratives, the AHEX, Area Health Educator Collaboratives. I think that's the right C. It might be centers, but either way, Area Health Educators Collaboratives have a ton of resources when you're working in the healthcare pipeline. And then also Surrey Yadkin Works is an apprenticeship model that is being very successful and is a collaboration between K-12 and the community college system and business industry and policymakers in those counties. So those are 2 places to look for more resources about how we're working. Finally, the resource that I'm closest to are my colleagues, the other regional impact managers across the state. They all bring a wealth of knowledge in different areas. Sanema Olatunje, social work, foster care, so she understands those systems. Angie Jenkins over in the Northeast came from child care, CTE. Brett, high school teacher, Preston from the workforce system. Pam was in nonprofits with communities and schools. So if there's something I don't know or Tony doesn't know, and let me mention Robert, he is a veteran and he also is with K-12 systems. So if there's something one of us doesn't know, we have a teammate that can help find out. And we also have a strong headquarters staff backing us up with data. So encourage you to reach out to any of us. And Tony, I'll let you close us up.
Sure. So we like to leave in every group that we chat with just a couple of things to think about. And so we hope that you will gain a stronger understanding of the learners and their opportunities in your county by really digging in to the county attainment profile, as well as understanding the state profile. We also hope that you understand and utilize the information that you may learn from us on February 12th, which is when we're going to get the next update of data. We've got a QR code coming up in just a moment of how you can register for this broadcast on February 12th. And then also, as you saw in the slide before, we hope that you leverage your regional impact manager. We are happy to come into your districts, present to your teachers, your administration, your boards, your advisory boards of your business leaders. I think the more we all dig in and have these work sessions together, the more we can create our collaborative effort together. And so on the next slide, you will see our save the date and our invitation to each one of you for the State of Educational Attainment broadcast on February 12th at 3 p.m. If you will log on with this QR code, or I see that it's now in the chat, you will be able to select your region on the map, and you will register to attend that. It'll also help you create a calendar link, and know that you can watch this at your convenience, but it will be live for the very first time at 3 p.m. on February 12th. If you're interested in viewing this with a group in your community, I encourage you to also reach out to your regional impact manager, and that person can assist with helping set that up or even attending alongside you. So we have just a few minutes left in our time allotted today, and we are happy to look at anything that's been placed in the chat, or if folks want to come off mute.
And Tony, I will turn it to Keisha to think about closing us up. But there was one question in the chat about the FAFSA tracker. Is it live this year?
The FAFSA tracker has a link to the week-by-week data. So right now, what we're still seeing when we log into the tracker is September 2025 data. But we can have access to it week by week in a spreadsheet, and you'll see a link to that right on the tracker website. The reason for all of that was because of the government shutdown and the data files not coming in a timely manner. But we are hoping every Monday when we log on that we're going to see that upload. So stay tuned and keep checking in.
Right. Thank you. And Keisha, seeing our time, let me turn that back to you or Amy. And we're here for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Tony. This has been very informative, incredible amount of detail and time that you and all of MyFutureNC have put in for these data maps, helping us connect the dots for labor market credentials and, of course, the academic and career readiness. What kind of questions do we have out there in the audience? We do have a form also for follow-up. If you think of something later, you can fill that out. But what kind of questions do we have now for these experts, our regional impact managers, who are truly partners along with the rest of MyFutureNC in the work that we're doing? You can put it in the chat. You can raise your hand. Valuable questions sprinkled throughout, and quite a bit of information to intake.
Sometimes I say there's so much data that we get a bit data drunk, but we can do sessions. And sometimes those small conversations are really rich. So
Yes, absolutely. And ladies, I'm going to go ahead and put your emails in the chat. We do have them on the closing slide as well. For folks, they'll get them later, of course, with this PowerPoint. Seeing that we're not getting questions in, I know there's nobody shy in this room. I'm sure they're all digging deep into, oh, we do have a question coming in. Oh, it's been very helpful and informative. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you very much for that. We do have, you mentioned CFNC and Pro Tools in as one of the resources a few slides ago, Tony did. And there is a webinar coming up this week on Thursday, and I'm going to take that opportunity to put that in the chat as well, related to the CDP reporting that's coming out in Pro Tools, connecting with NC Careers. For those in the audience who may not have seen that, there's a link for it, and we have that team, Dr. Constance Hollingsworth Pierce, on to speak to the connection behind the scene to help with that data. Okay, there are no questions coming in. Incredible time putting this together, ladies. Thank you. We appreciate the teamwork and collaboration, and we know that you are available, as are the other impact managers, to help and support the field. We have 2 more Lunch and Learns coming up to closing out the year, and they are February 10th, looking ahead, our new modernized CTE cluster framework, and I'll be reviewing that. And then in March 10th, we have our military consultant, Howard Latimer, talking about one of the 3 E's, the enlist, which is military careers and exploration. Thank you both. Oh, Mia Morris has a question in there. And will there be one hyperdoc sent with all of the links? Yes. Thanks, Mia, for that reminder. Along with the recording going out of today's session, their PowerPoint will be included as well, and that will be in the CDC Work-Based Learning Moodle out to our CTE folks. And Dr. Bryant shares the same way out shares to consultants in the same manner as she's done the other ones. Now, Keisha, did you want to elaborate on that, or am I good?
You're good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So our partners here, Dr. Case and Tony Blant, have embedded the hyperlinks all throughout, and we've been trying to get them into the chat. Very helpful information to share with your stakeholders. Exactly, Audrey, and the district. Fantastic. And hopefully you all can set some additional time set aside to review all the links and information. And with that, Keisha and I, again, thank you all for participating. Thank you, Dr. Case and Tony Blount. My apologies, Tony.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when it's a short week, isn't it? And first thing, for the incredible time getting this put together and the continued support. We could not do this without you, for the benefit of our future workforce, and it starts at K-12. And MyFutureNC is surely a huge fire and impetus behind our support and moving everyone forward. Keisha, you want to do a wrap up? Or something
Just want
else?
to say thank you to everyone. And next month is School Counseling Week, February 2nd through the 6th. So come back on February 10th for that Lunch and Learn as an opportunity the following week, because we're all about partnership and amplifying student success. And these Lunch and Learns are an opportunity for school counselors, CDCs to amplify our student success. So we hope to see you then.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all that you do, making the difference every day. You all have a fantastic
Thank you,
short
Tony.
week.
Thank you, Kim. You all are wonderful. Have a great week, everyone. Happy New Year.
The recording has stopped. Sometimes we do have people who